We from Philly.
If you don't know, we run these streets the same way the birds run that NFC East. Giants is weak, Skins is trash. Cowboys every season whoop that ass. Look, it ain't no competition. We here for those who listen. Want nothing but the facts. That ego coalition. We could give two fucks about your trash ass team. Our concern is about that black, that white, that midnight green. The feathers on the helmet, bruh, our hearts indebted. Fly Eagles fly, what it's about, bruh. I said it, look up.
But I just gotta know one thing. Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
What's up, home of the Super Bowl 52 champions? In case you forgot, Philadelphia, we are live broadcasting from Wildfire Sports Studios. Welcome to the 4th and JAWN Eagles 2018 offseason episode 3. Boys and girls, it's only been 2 weeks, but it feels like forever since we were all in this studio talking about our beloved Eagles. It'd be nice to go to Wildfire and have 2 consecutive weeks where we have a show without Mother Nature kind of kicking us in the dick and taking it away from us and doing it every other week. But it's not like we missed anything, right? Right? I mean, it's not like there's a whole bunch to talk about, right? I mean, there's Mike Wallace being signed as an Eagles wide receiver. Vinny Curry's out. That's a shame. What else we got? Oh, we got details about the 4th and JAWN trip to Canton coming up in August.
Hey.
We got details about the 4th and JAWN and Wildfire Sports Collective draft party coming up later in April. Nothing else to talk about, right?
Wrong.
Right?
Wrong.
Now, listen, I always sit up here and kind of stand up on my soapbox, preach the gospel a little bit, set the table for the episode. But for the first time, listen, we're just going to address the big old elephant in the room. We're going to talk about it, and hopefully you guys aren't Michael Bennett to death at this point. But I just want to hand it off right to my man Gail to kind of set the table for this Michael Bennett situation.
You know,
Gail.
I'm still on my Super Bowl high. You know, I don't like my Super Bowl high to be fucked with. But Michael Bennett had a a situation that the Eagles and the Seahawks both did not know of. It's a weird situation. This case is really weird. It took a long time for it to come to fruition. They said they knew where Michael Bennett was. I think it was like 13 months. Other things were more important, like Tom Brady's jersey.
Which they had all the footage for.
Yep, they had all the angles. That jersey went to Mexico and back, and then it got sent all the way with state troopers all the way safely back to New England's home base. So I mean, there's some weird situations going on with this thing. So basically, Bennett was indicted. The charge, injury to elderly includes intentionally and knowingly causing bodily injury to a 65 years or older. It carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. It's the Texas Penal Code Section 2204. I mean, the situation is it's weird because when they had the press conference, the way that the chief of police was talking about the case, it's weird that he kind of, they'll report what's going on, but he kind of like chose a side and basically was talking about how morally bankrupt Michael Bennett was. So I mean, for a case to begin, like, he's already putting some kind of thoughts in the heads of the people that are gonna vote on this. So I mean, it's tough, but I really think that Michael Bennett's gonna be okay on this case. They're gonna throw some money at it. They're gonna make it go away, because if they can prove that it was, he didn't purposely do this, they're good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because also, if it was so bad that they let him just walk on by and wait 13 months to bring it to everybody's attention. How bad was the situation? And the even if the police officer was off duty, he in that county can arrest him and put him in jail that night. So the situation is weird, my friend.
The situation is weird, and perhaps we as Eagles fans, me specifically, we've gotten a little spoiled over the last 2 years of not having a high level of drama within this locker room, within this organization. I've had a lot of fun, especially last year, poking fun at the Cowboys and all their offseason drama.
Are you calling us Cowboys light?
Well, hold on, time out. I've had a lot of fun poking fun at the New York Giants and all the Odell Beckham Jr. offseason, which is continuing once again this year. And there's all that trade speculation. Last year, there was also the Washington Redskins firing their general manager. Is he an alcoholic? Is he not an alcoholic? Meanwhile, the Eagles had a tight-knit locker room that were off in North Dakota singing Kumbaya with the rest of their wide receivers. I made a video about this.
I might make another baby tonight, just to name him Carson.
Prior to the season about, hey, everybody else is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. Meanwhile, the Eagles had the single best offseason last year, and we're flying completely underneath the radar and how they were going to catch everybody by surprise. Now, granted, I didn't know the outcome would be what it was, but I really enjoyed the fact that the Eagles were flying underneath
the radar.
It's uncomfortable to now be in a position where you have to either defend, disagree with, or just an overall distraction about a player who literally just got here. I mean, I haven't even seen this guy in an Eagles uniform yet. I have zero emotional attachment to Michael Bennett, but it is a little weird to now be in a position where you have to defend a player and or see a player of your own in the headlines.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about like the foundation of this team, you walk into a locker room and you know that you've already had this in the media, and you walk in that locker room, people are like, "Really, dude?" Like, I mean, not some you're gonna play it off, you know.
Yeah.
But if I'm like a leader of the team, I'm like, dude, you got to button this shit up, or you know, I mean, you might have. I don't even. Maybe he didn't know about it, you know. But the other weird situation is, Michael Bennett also has a book coming out April 3rd. 2018. Basically, the name of the title of the book is "Things That Make White People Uncomfortable."
Not a mercy.
So I mean, he has a. It could be like he's got a book coming out, and this is perfect timing. Whether it's
Weird.
on their end or you never know. You never know. It's weird, but
And it is a thing that makes a white person uncomfortable.
even the title,
especially this white person, right here. Because look, when you start to talk and discuss Michael Bennett, regardless of what team he plays for, or athlete or not, famous or not, you start to see situations on the timeline. You start to hear the callers on sports talk radio picking sides. Right, and it's pretty easy to see who's playing for what team. You've got some white people out there that are, and this is going to be an uncomfortable discussion, but there's some people out there that not only want to condemn Michael Bennett right off the bat, want to point the finger and say he's guilty. There's people out there that are rooting for him to be guilty, just based off the color of his skin, and that, quite frankly, is wrong. Don't get too excited. There's a flip side to that. There's some people in the African American community who, no matter what Michael Bennett may or may not have done, will defend him and not apologize for him, but make excuses for him just based off the color of his skin. And we can then rewind that a little bit and look at a different example. Riley Cooper a couple years ago. There were white people out there who said that, listen, he made a mistake. It wasn't a big deal. He was drunk. Still rocking the jersey. Nothing should happen to him. Just get over it. Based off the color of Riley Cooper's skin. And that's wrong. You can't tell people who that word affects how they should feel about that word. And then we can rewind the tape even further. When Michael Vick came aboard to the Philadelphia Eagles, some of those very same people who were willing to make excuses for Riley Cooper unfairly, just based off the color of his skin. We're not willing to give Michael Vick a second chance, even though he apologized, just like Riley did. He did his time, and so on and so forth. And there were people, don't get too excited, on the opposite side who were willing to just say, just get over it. It's not a big deal. That's part of the culture, and make excuses for it. It's a very uncomfortable situation to be in, and quite frankly, I'm not trying to compare assaulting an elderly woman in a wheelchair, paraplegic, to an individual dropping the N-bomb in public at a country music concert, to an individual who's been accused and tried and found guilty of murdering dogs for sport. All I'm saying is that each individual one has to be looked at on an individual circumstance. I'll go out on the record and just fucking say it. I'm not a big Michael Bennett fan. I don't like the guy. I respect who he is on the field. Hell of a ball player. I respect the work that he does in the community and the charities that he has. I respect the fact that the Eagles organization and leaders in that locker room were asked and vouched on behalf of Michael Bennett. But the shit that he pulled out in Las Vegas, coming from a police family, it didn't sit right with me. So I'm not a big Michael Bennett fan personally. But having said all that, I'm not going to let my personal feelings about the guy disrupt the finely tuned machine inside my nose, which is the bullshit detector. Because I'm looking at Officer Bar Brady and the Dunkin' Donuts All-Stars standing up there, holding a press conference, trying to paint Michael Bennett as a morally corrupt individual, dropping F-bomb. I've never seen a cop drop a motherfucker or a fuck in a press conference before, trying to paint public opinion against him, and then presenting a case that's got more holes in it than Swiss cheese. There is no video evidence, despite all the video evidence of Tom Brady's jersey getting stolen.
Minute by minute.
Minute by minute. Almost like clockwork. There's no evidence of this altercation inside the tunnel.
And in Super Bowl security is the top security in all events.
Yes.
And the Super Bowl, the American, Grammys, it's up there. It's top of the line.
And the Super Bowl itself probably has more cameras than any other event that takes place on there.
Let alone the people holding their cell phones that do more video to watching through the screen of their cell phone than they do watching the game with their own two eyes.
Right. And there's also Ashley, I believe his sister, Bennett.
I was just about to say,
the video. She had posted and she said, I was there. I have video of it. And when someone gets indicted, sometimes they don't have access to all the, stuff that's out there. So, and they could be holding this, like she deleted that tweet. So that information, the defense could be holding on to because it's very important to this case.
Yeah, I mean that video didn't even show a lot. It was just like clips of him like running down to the field, and then clips of him like sitting in the stands and everything. There might be more video though. That's what I'm saying. There might be because I think all it was like one of those 1 minute Snapchat clips. I think that's what she was doing for those videos that she was doing with Michael Bennett or whatever. But oh no, this whole thing in general is just sketchy as hell as it is.
It doesn't pass the smell test.
It doesn't pass the smell test at all. Nor did really the company that supplies the security people, NRG, nor that off-duty police officer really do their due diligence. Like a defense attorney is going to have a field day with this because there's so many holes in it. First of all, if Officer Murphy or whatever his name was went and tried to chase Michael Bennett down and confront him or ask him questions and he blew them off, you're supplied with radios. Cops know to document this stuff. Or, Michael Bennett did this. There was no documentation of the injuries to the elderly quadriplegic woman in a wheelchair the day of the event. That was said during the press conference. So there's no documentation of the incident happening that day. There's no documentations of the injury happening that day. There's nothing as of yet that says that Michael Bennett was the guy who did this. Now, so why is it being brought up? Any guesses?
there's a book dropping April 3rd, 2018.
But that's gonna
weird.
Does this remind you a little bit of the Zeke situation? Just a little bit, because there's a lot of things with the whole Zeke situation. There wasn't much evidence of him beating this woman and stuff like that. There was like pictures, but they weren't sure if it was 100% true. And there was just so many holes with the Zeke ordeal. But at the same time,
I mean, the whole thing doesn't make sense. Like Michael Bennett knows what his situation is. There's no way he's going to put himself in this. A lot of these players are very self-aware of their surroundings. I mean, a lot of these players get caught up in the craziest. You know, they can put this complaint in. The player has millions of money.
Mm-hmm.
Put the lawsuit in. Throw money at it. What about the DJ that got punched in the nose by Zeke Elliott? What happened to the charges? Somebody threw money at that. Shut it up and shut it down. Like if you're in that situation, go ahead, man. Put a lawsuit in. You're gonna get money.
Here's the thing. When this initially happened, I thought exactly that. Just throw some money at it, make it go away. Yep. We don't need this kind of distraction. Right or wrong, guilty or not guilty, it happened or it didn't. We don't need this kind of distraction. The more it kind of goes on, the more I think that, listen, if you want to tell me that Michael Bennett stood at a gate and told somebody, do you know who I am? I can own this motherfucker. Oh, all right, I'll buy that. If you want to tell me Michael Bennett looked at an off-duty police officer as a security guard and said, fuck you, all right, I can buy that. But the fact that they weren't able to get to Bennett to question him, the fact that what happened out in Las Vegas, the fact that maybe he wasn't cooperating, the fact that the police department felt disrespected in that angle, I look at that guy and I'm like, this guy's trying to make an example out of Michael Bennett.
They are trying to make an example.
And I don't think he throws money at it. Because any defense lawyer would go to Michael Bennett and be like, even if it did happen, even if he did put his hand on a quadriplegic woman or act like an asshole, which I can buy, there's no way that if this goes to trial, that there's too many holes. Nothing was documented. It took too long. There were too many people trying to rush the field at once. How do you know it was Michael Bennett? This is all here. Boom, 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 boom. So if I'm the defense attorney, I'm telling Michael Bennett, nah, fuck it. They put you in, was he in handcuffs today?
Yeah.
Yes.
They put you in handcuffs and paraded you around in front of cameras.
That's what they did.
Do you think Michael Bennett's the type of individual to take something like that lightly or laying down or quietly? No, I would take it. If I'm Michael Bennett's
talking about that too.
Attorney, I would take it to trial, deny everything, watch the prosecution fucking lose, and then start suing people for defamation. I mean, honestly, I don't like Michael Bennett, but that's what the fuck I would do.
But you know what? What if he's somehow proven guilty? Do you still want him in this team? I sure as hell don't.
I don't think he'll be playing if he's
you don't think so?
I think he's guilty.
I think if anything, he'll be suspended. I don't think he'll be suspended for the whole year. But my question is, would you want him in this team if he was proven guilty?
If everything that Officer Barr Brady stood up there and said came to fruition, and there was video evidence, and everything was correct, no, I don't want him. I don't want him as an Eagle.
Agree.
I don't want him as an Eagle. Yeah. But there's also an added layer which you touched on. There's the court of public opinion. Mm-hmm. There's the court of law, and then there's the court of Roger Goodell. So what does Raj say about all this?
Yeah, Roger's going to have to say this. So it's going to take another element on its own after this if Roger feels like, he'll be the judge, jury, and executioner on this after.
That's why I have a feeling it's going to be like a Zeke Elliott type bullshit again.
It was at a NFL event as well.
Yeah.
So that adds another element to it. But, I mean, as a black dude in America, the legal system and black people dealing with the legal system is a problem as well as with the police officers. Mm-hmm. So some people, I've been through it myself. I just the system is crazy, and when he's painted like this before he's even just like let's rewind and go back to the Nelson Aguilar situation when everyone was ready to kick him off the team, thinking that he raped some
one of the strippers.
Stripper. And there were some people on the timeline ready to trade him on the spot without any information. I mean, we live in an era where it's information, whether it's right or wrong, is so accessible to us that we don't know which is true or not. You know, and you could run with it depending on what kind of narrative you have. You can run with it. So at the end of the day, you got to wait for the facts. I just hate to be dealing with this shit.
Yeah,
on my
we're not used to this shit, man. It's been a little while since we had to deal with kind of bullshit like this.
And that speaks to the point that I think I either may or may not have poorly tried to make in the beginning. Whereas I would like to see people treated not based off the color of their skin, but tried fairly, judged fairly, and treated fairly without a fucking narrative just bang thrown into there. You know what I mean? It almost seems like, you know, if a black guy is accused of something wrong, you know, right on the timeline, people are picking sides and throwing narratives. If it's a white guy accused of doing something wrong, it's people picking sides. Like if it's the cops in Las Vegas, look how they jumped all over the cops in Las Vegas. Turns out, based on the body cam footage, that shit was exaggerated at best.
But they have all the footage though.
Yeah.
For what?
The Michael Bennett situation.
Yeah.
But he got profiled though, right?
No.
I mean,
to be honest, I'm not sure.
He did get thrown to the ground though, right?
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. I know that.
I mean,
he wasn't obeying. They based it off of his behavior, the way he was acting during an active shooter situation, which we can, unfortunately, months later, we found out how dangerous that situation could be when a white dude up at the top of Mandalay Bay shot up a bunch of other white people down at a country music concert. You know, that's a shame that had to happen. He was acting sketchy. He was kind of ducking. The police kind of looked. He was acting sketchy during that situation. They asked him to stop. He didn't stop. They tackled it. Like, they don't know whether he's the guy or not. They tackled him. They questioned him professionally and then realized that he isn't the guy and let him go because they got to find the guy. Like, if you're acting sketchy and you're not listening to police.
Did they ever find the guy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever found the guy. But that so people were quick to judge on that, and then the body cam footage came out and the truth was told. And now people are quick to judge Michael Bennett on this. And I can't help but tie it's tied in. Like, there was an exaggeration over here and it made the cops look bad, and I can't help but think that the cops are then trying to make an example out of Bennett on that. You know what I mean?
It's just going to be an interesting few weeks how this story unfolds as it is.
I mean, just like Gail said, I don't feel like dealing with this shit.
Here do I.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. If it comes to a point that he is proven guilty, get him the fuck off this team. I could care less. Our D-line is stacked as it is anyway.
Do you guys remember the good old days when when Carson was baptizing players in the
and that's the way
in the
it
pool?
should be. That's
It was the Cowboys players that were getting arrested.
Yeah.
I think
I miss those days.
It'll get back to that, and I really do feel like in this situation, they said if he didn't do it on purpose, say if he pushed open a door and the person got injured or something, and he didn't mean it, and he didn't intentionally do it. I think it's like a 3rd-degree felony or something.
I mean, if an accident should not be a felony
or something like that. So I would.
You got to prove intent.
If I'm him, I'm throwing money at it. It'll go away quickly, and we'll get back to doing Eagle stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to want to drag this out while he's with the Eagles.
Well, are you sure about that?
I mean, if I'm him.
What was the name of his book again?
Well, he's making me feel uncomfortable.
But speaking on a different subject, the Eagles did. Speaking of another new addition to the Philadelphia Eagles,
I was gonna say, I gotta bring some light.
Yeah, you know, I absolutely loved the Mike Wallace signing, and it really kind of confuses me even more as to why the Carolina Panthers would trade for a guy like Torrey Smith with a $5 million hit on it. To wrap it all up, to get to the meat of it, the Eagles basically got a wide receiver with more catches, more yards, and more touchdowns in a more inept offense for half the price, $2.5 million, up to $4 million, if I remember correctly, up to $4 million, and also acquired a guy like Worley, who gives you at worst depth at the cornerback position and maybe a special teams player at worst.
And he's the guy they also liked prior to the draft situation, but the Panthers moved up in the 3rd round to get him. And he's an Eagle fan. Grew up in Philadelphia.
Really? Yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's from Philly.
All you gotta say is Howie fucking Roseman. Even freaking resigning Bradham. I was shocked we were able to resign Bradham. Because we haven't done a show since resigned. Yeah. We didn't even talk about it. I was shocked we've been able to sign him.
I mean, basically, that deal is like a 2-year deal, like for $14 million.
Yeah.
Now, thanks for pointing that out, Richard Sherman. By the way, thanks for pointing it out.
That's a great deal on Howie's part. You're getting fucking. Mike
it was
Wallace.
Like a team-friendly deal all the way around.
Mike Wallace, who took less money to come here. He said he had better offers otherwise.
That seems to be a common theme about players that are coming here.
And
Carson Wentz.
He was talking about being a younger player and securing a bag. He got that bag of money.
Yeah.
He got paid.
The first contract. Yeah.
He got paid by the Dolphins on that big contract.
Yep.
Now it's about securing a ring. And this is the best situation for him. In this offense, we talk about having that vertical talent in this offense, opening up the field. Dude, he's the perfect guy. I mean, he can still get deep. He ran like a 4.29-ish, but I think he ran like 4.3 something in the at the combine. But that guy's got. He was the only dude that was like a burner before, better than Deshaun Jackson back then.
And all the Ravens reporters are saying that he's such a great locker room guy. He does so many things for the community in Baltimore and all that stuff at the time.
Good locker room guy.
Yeah, good locker. The Ravens reporters just keep raving about him, how great of a locker room and community guy he
11 catches of 20-plus yards. And that for this offense, that's amazing.
But now we got to wait for Matt Collins for another year, it seems like now.
Don't force. I mean, listen, the Eagles needed to sign another wide receiver, plain and simple. They just needed to sign another wide receiver. It didn't matter if Mac Hollins was the 2 and the veteran was the 4, or the veteran's the 2 and Mac Hollins is the 4. They're going to continue to groom Mac Hollins at his own pace. I don't want to see them rush the kid along, a la Nelson Aguilar. It's tough when you force a guy in a position where you're asking too much of him.
Yeah.
And this way, a veteran comes in that you're not asking too much of. You're at most you're asking him to be what we expected Torrey Smith to be. The fans did when he came in, which was probably, if I was to guess, Torrey Smith's expectations when we first signed him, I would say 800 yards, 7 touchdowns. Yeah. And that's not unreasonable to expect in this offense. I mean, he almost had 800 yards, if I remember correctly, in a Ravens offense that stunk.
Yeah, their passing attack was
terrible.
Terrible.
And he had what, 4 touchdowns? Yeah, he had 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, it's not if he can just reproduce what our expectations were for Torrey Smith, the fan base's expectations, I mean, boom, you're beautiful.
I mean, he's a better receiver than Torrey Smith. And everyone, he gets labeled with the vertical threat thing. He's more than just a vertical threat. I mean, you can move him around. You can put him in slot. I mean, but at the end of the day, we were talking about Mac Hollins. You're not going to hand the keys over to Mac Hollins. You want to create competition in your locker room.
Not only that, just have depth.
Right. But then it brings the best out of your players. You just don't give then you also have Shelton Gibson, our draft pick from last year, who's also a vertical threat. He had like a limited route tree coming out of West Virginia, so I feel like
and hands of stone.
He had the dropsies, but I think we have pieces in place. I remember last year when they brought in when they had the running back situation coming out of the draft, I was like, remember I was telling you, I was like, I don't feel good. When they signed LeGarrette Blount, I was like, yes. Yeah, that feels like my couch. This is comfortable.
And then you jumped out of your seat when they got Ajayi.
That was even better.
Yeah. No, that was.
So yeah. I feel like this move is like the LeGarrette Blount move of last year. We've upgraded the position, and for cheaper.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
So
and the Eagles got under the salary cap. They were able to sign one of their main priorities in the offseason that Howie Roseman said during the exit interview with Brad. I'm like, look, we're going to try to do everything that we can to get you back. And it was funny how you didn't hear any rumors about Brad.
No.
Like all these rumors flying around and everything like that. You didn't hear a peep about Bradham. That's because they were working it out behind the scenes. And yes, he did have offers from other teams that he didn't want to get into, but he came back home to Philadelphia, and they were able to sign a guy like Wallace.
And it's a perfect situation for Brad. I mean, he's got a great relationship with Schwartz.
I was going to say, and he has a great relationship with Doug. Did you guys ever see that video clip of him, like giving Doug Pearson a real big hug after he signed the contract?
I mean,
it's awesome stuff, man.
The system is best for his abilities. And after winning the Super Bowl, you know, the teammates were texting him like, "Yo, you better not lose." So obviously, there's a bond within that locker room. The guys were like holding to him, like, "Dude, don't leave."
Yep.
And
he's
came
the most
back.
consistent tackler on the defense.
So I mean, if we get him for two more years, he can leave after that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There'll be an option after that.
I know one shoe had to drop before the Bradham signing, but I really thought they were going to hang on to Vinny Curry and use him as draft bait.
I thought they were going to either release him or trade him.
In my own head, I'm now exhausting the options because I think the Nick Foles thing, we can all agree at this point, at least on this podcast, that it's off the table.
Yeah.
Like Nick Foles is going to stay.
Yeah.
Barring any unforeseen injury going into training camp or the preseason, you would anticipate Nick Foles staying.
Sam Bradford gets hurt. Flip him again.
Vinny Curry, I thought would have been maybe
Plot
a
twist.
piece that they might package together to move up in the draft to get back into day 2.
Yeah.
I think teams were waiting. They were just waiting because they knew that the Eagles, you know,
The Eagles needed the money.
they had to make moves.
Yeah, they needed the money.
Because the Bucks, the team that we talked about, him potentially could go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nelson said by name.
He was pressing that.
So, but JPP, they offered a 3rd and a 4th round pick for JPP, and they knew the Eagles couldn't wait any longer.
No.
They're like, what are we going to give another pick? No, we'll wait till he
Gets released.
gets released. And they jumped on it.
Speaking about a former Giant, man, Odell Beckham.
Oh,
Jr.
I love
everything
about it.
See, can we get back to talking about other people's players and the problems that
Other
they're
teams'
having
bullshit.
during the offseason? This guy can't keep himself out of the fucking news. First of all, was that him in the club in Atlanta?
Yes.
Did we ever determine that was him when everyone was telling
No,
him?
the club in Atlanta when he
got punched out.
when he got apparently it wasn't him. What I
don't
heard.
know if it was him or not. 'Cause I've heard
Apparently it was
conflicting
false.
stories. I mean, people ran with it like it was him.
Yeah, like when it first came out, everybody was saying it was OBJ, but then I think
How can
one
I-
or two.
Yeah, you know how many
it looked
dudes,
just like him.
you know how many dudes in New York that I see look like Odell
a
Beckham?
lot North Jersey, dude.
Yeah.
All the dudes have the poof hair with the blonde.
But I put it on Twitter.
It's reported that he was misidentified.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't think it was him. Yeah.
What I do see a guy like that in my neighborhood, but because he lives a block away from me in this 3-story.
Wait, Odell Beckham Jr. lives a block away from you.
I told you this.
Yeah, he said.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So three
Just trying to continue the fucking conversation.
3 floor. He's got a 3-floor pad. I was gonna take a photo and I was like, nah, that's kind of creeperish. But like, I was walking my
Giants
dog.
fans do that.
3 days ago, I saw this moving past. In my town, you gotta put on your fence when you're getting a moving truck, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, Odell's moving out of the neighborhood. And that news had just broke 2 days. Like 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, but
then the recent news of the Rams possibly
Oh
interested.
shit! If the Rams
Where
get,
the hell are they getting all this money from? Is it money grow on trees out
they
there?
didn't. They're not paying golf. They're not paying.
They're only a 1 year.
That
Only 1 year deal for.
What about-
so?
yeah. So yep.
Donald.
14 mil, I believe it was for Sue.
I don't know. They are loading up, and as much as I would love to take a look at these corners, Talib and what is it, Peters?
Yeah. Mark
Yes.
Spears. There's a lot of.
Out there, and the attitude of those players, and as much as I see people kind of comparing it to the Eagles' dream team of the past. Now they add. You got to admit that defense.
They're
that
nasty.
defense looks nasty.
They're
I mean,
nasty.
Wade Phillips has a lot to mold with that. That's
Yeah.
a great group for him.
And a great defensive coordinator, man.
I like Wade Phillips. Always, always respected him.
This was actually part of my around